Kris event is next Wednesday, November 10th. It's going to be virtual this year again because of COVID. It'll start at 6 p.m. and we should wrap up sometime between 7:30 and 8. And I think, Kris, you're going to put the link for that on your website, correct?
It's already on our website. It's under the events page and it's on our Facebook as well.
Awesome, thanks.
I can share it in the chat in just a second as well.
And Luciana has a hand up.
Yeah, hi. I know I have an event to share from the Lake Superior Reserve that I know conflicts with the celebration of progress next week. But we have our November River Talk is virtual at 7 p.m. next Wednesday. And I'll put the link in the chat because it's a series and it's different every time. So if you can't come on next week, Wednesday, the next one is in January.
And let's see, at least, so one of the links is not working. Unfortunately, that's the only link I have. Let me see if I can try something else here. And Bob, while I'm trying that, you have an announcement?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I stepped away during the announcements, but did anyone yet, speaking of the reserve, welcome Kirsten Rude back to the Twin Ports?
Not yet.
Welcome back, Kirsten. Kirsten's joined the reserve. She was a master's student with me at LOO.
Yes, and a Knaus Fellow with us. So
And a Knaus Fellow, right?
she went to DC for a year to learn all about how environmental policy works in DC.
During a pandemic.
Yeah, during the pandemic, how that all worked.
Hey, that'd be a good TPFF talk.
Exactly. And she's gained some awesome skill sets, I'm sure, that she brings back to our area. So welcome back, Kirsten. Okay, I don't want to take up any more of Kris's time. So unless somebody else has a burning announcement, we're going to move into our next steps here. All right. So for December, our speaker is Matt Behrens of NRRI, and he will be talking about reducing mercury and sulfate levels with some new technology. So that's going to be pretty cool. Those are really hot button problem pollutants for our area. So tune in for that in December. But for today, we are going to be hearing from Kris Eilers. And so Kris has been working on freshwater environmental stuff for a long time. She says over a decade here, community engagement, especially remediation, habitat restoration, intergovernmental affairs. She said it was her childhood dream of helping to restore the polluted waters of the St. Louis River and the estuary, and she certainly is fulfilling that as the executive director of the St. Louis River Alliance. And as I hope you all know, SLRA has really been working hard to get people out on the river and appreciating our beautiful river and our estuary, and helping people make meaningful connections to it. And so actually Kris is going to be talking to us today about some of that and this new trail that they have helped to develop. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kris, and I would ask everyone, please mute yourself so that there are no distractions from Kris's presentation.
Thanks, Val. Well, it's really great to be here. Thanks for having me. And it's really great to see some familiar faces and names, and also a lot of new people too. So I have the pleasure of talking about something that is a result of all of the science and all of the hard work that's been going on here in the Twin Ports for the last at least 37 years now. So I'm here to talk about the St. Louis River Estuary National Water Trail. And my thing is not advancing. There we go. The St. Louis River Alliance is committed to protecting, restoring, and enhancing the St. Louis River. And we started as the original Citizens Action Committee when the EPA designated this an area of concern back in 1987. Some of our work that we are doing right now is we are the managers of the newly designated National Water Trail. We have several habitat projects that we do work on. We also offer stewardship events, and we are an area of concern partner, and we work on connections. So there's some of these slides I might go a little faster through because of the audience that we do have here. But I just want to talk about how did we go from this? And if you can see the picture very well, you can see that there's a lot of pollution in the harbor here. I'm sure we've all heard stories or have even been here when the estuary was so polluted that you really couldn't even go out there and connect with it in a meaningful way. And then how do we get to this? A lot cleaner river and as a designated national water trail.
At the headwaters of Lake Superior lies the nation's largest freshwater estuary. Flowing between Wisconsin and Minnesota, the St. Louis River estuary has a rich history. Unfortunately, due to unregulated industrial dumping, by the 1970s, the St. Louis River was considered one of the most polluted waterways in the United States. After decades of work by agencies, the river is now slowly and painstakingly being restored to health. The National Water Trail project is a direct result of a cleaner river. It celebrates the slow return of vitality, giving people access to recreate and reconnect to the river once again. The St. Louis River Estuary National Water Trail was designed under the direction of the City of Duluth and over 50 partners. It is not a linear trail, but a series of loops for different skill levels and various watercraft. By providing access to wild spaces in an urban area, the water trail enables more people an opportunity to build their own memories and relationships to this unique treasure. The St. Louis River Alliance is a membership organization of river stewards working together to restore, protect, and enhance the St. Louis River. As proud managers of the water trail, the Alliance is leading a working group of representatives from Minnesota and Wisconsin to ensure its success. There's much work to do in order to make this water trail a popular destination, and the St. Louis River Alliance is making it a top priority. The St. Louis River Estuary Water Trail will lead you to untapped wild spaces just waiting to be explored. Support the water trail by becoming a member today.
Well, I don't know what just happened there, but sorry. I'm trying to get to my next slide here, and for some reason it won't advance. There we go. So I don't want to spend too much time. This is a lot of text here, but I just wanted to give people a timeline for those who aren't aware of how much work has been done in the estuary. So you can look at the timeline. You know, the first major thing that happened here in 1978 was that the wastewater treatment plant began operating and helped remove a great amount of toxic mercury. And then after that, in 1987, it was designated an area of concern. And then you can see the different stages. The St. Louis River Alliance was the original Citizens Action Committee that worked on the remedial action plan with the different agencies. And then in 2010, significantly, the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative program launched, and that helped accelerate the work that people knew needed to be done for a long time. And that's still around helping accelerate this work. And then in 2013, the MPCA and agency partners released the implementation framework and a remedial action plan to delist by 2025. And then they started the work. And then the timeline of the water trail is that in 2015 and 16, the city of Duluth got together a bunch of partners and stakeholders to create a water trail master plan, also hiring a consultant. And the master plan was done. And then that was over 50 partners were working on that together. And some of those partners are probably on this call today. It was a pretty big deal, and the application was submitted to the National Park Service in 2017. And then they approved the application for designation and recommended it to go to the Secretary of the Interior, in which it did. The Alliance became the managers of the water trail in 2017. And then in 2020, after we waited for about 3 years for that, the Secretary of the Interior finally signed the designation. So right now we're working on, we still facilitate an advisory council of some of those partners. It's a working group that implements the master plan. And like the video said, there's 11 loops or routes there. It's not a linear trail. There's 11 loops or routes that have all different skills and abilities that are listed that way on the map. It's intended for various watercraft use. And again, it was officially designated in 2020. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because most of you know this estuary inside and out, but there's 12,000 amazing acres of coastal freshwater wetland. Before I go into this too, I just want to say that the significance of being able to designate this as a national water trail is all because of all of the cleanup work that's been done and all of the research and all of the funds that have gone into this. So this is really what we say is a celebration of a cleaner river. So thanks to everybody who has been working on this for so many years. It's an important migratory stopover site. So when you're out on the river, you probably will see some of these birds. And again, there's some of the wildlife here. There's some bobcats out there. Every time I put my kayak in the water this summer, I saw otters. And there's red fox. There's a ton of different mammals out there as well. Here's some giant sturgeon and a muskie. There's over 45 native species of warm water fish in the estuary. And again, the restoration and habitat projects are continuing to create better environment. The St. Louis River estuary is home to historical levels of manoomin. The restoration has been underway now for about 8 years. And there's a lot of different partners on that work, and the Alliance is one of those partners. And we take volunteer members out every year. For the last 8 years, I think there was only 1 year in there that we weren't able to do it, and give people the experience of planting wild rice, which now we can go out and see around Clough Island and in other places. This year we planted around Kingsbury Bay. Obviously, there's lots of things to do on the river: boating, fishing, kayaking, birding. There's eco tours, and also some people use it as a spiritual connection for meditation. Some of the things that we want to make sure that people do is to stay safe out there, because it is considered big water out there. And in a minute, we're going to talk about some of the loops too. There's a great, we're partners with the Minnesota Sea Grant, and they have a great website called Paddle Safe Twin Ports. And you can get on there and check the forecast for the day. And it's really important to create a float plan. And also, most of you probably have been out on the river. Maybe some people haven't, but the wind can come up really fast and change what you thought was going to be a nice calm day. And so you need to be able to roll with that and have some flexibility in changing your plans. We created some great maps last year, and those are available out in different places right now. There's over 20 different places who have the maps, as well as in front of our office. And here's a list right here, and you can go on our website and find this. We are creating new maps this year because we're almost out of the first edition, and we created the first edition before we had the designation, so it did not say National Water Trail on it or have the logo. But we wanted to keep things moving, and there were so many people that wanted to get those maps. Everybody has been so excited to get out there and do some exploring. So the routes, the PDFs are also available online. And so you can actually, if you don't want to stop in, you can actually get online. And in the future, we will be producing hopefully an interactive app that has these routes and loops on them so that you can look at it on the water. But there are other apps that you can get that are on the water as well right now. And we just have a few loops here of, we had a great intern this summer who did some recording. So the Clough Island circuit is, you can enter it at Munger Landing or at Spirit Lake Marina if you have permission, as it's private. And I'm going to see if I can. Did everybody get a chance to see all the wildlife that she caught in there? There was I think there was a sturgeon under the water there, and I saw a blue heron, and there was also a bear crawling up a tree. Sorry. Let's see if I can advance it. There we go. The Boy Scout Shuffle is, the point of access for this one is Boy Scout Landing, or you can carry in at Perch Lake, excuse me. The Perch Lake, I'm not sure if that landing is going to be closed for work soon, but you can get on the MPCA website, and I think we'll have the links on our website as well as where these cleanup projects will be happening so that you know where you can get in at. That one obviously had a large mayfly hatch in there, and hopefully when you go out, you don't get in the middle of all that, but they are kind of interesting to see. Oh, sorry. This one is the Fond du Lac Voyage, and the point of access for this is Chambers Grove, and this is a little bit harder level because you're paddling up. When you start off, you're paddling up against the current, and sometimes that current can be fairly strong in there. But this one is one of my favorite loops. This one goes up to the dam as far as you can get, depending on the water levels, and then back down to Chambers Grove. But the historic railways and the rocky faces are just gorgeous down here. So those are just a few samplings, and I think we do have some more of those on our website, and we'll be getting some more samplings of those so that people can use them as a tool to kind of pique their curiosity about what they might see when they go out there. Some of these are just some of the water trail landings, and Wisconsin has been doing a great job of like renewing, or I can't think of the right word for that, enhancing some of the landings over there. And there's some great places to put in. Minnesota, some of these, I think that the Munger Landing will be closed soon. If not, because of work that's being done on them. But again, there's places to check that out. And I wanted to list a few things because of the audience we have here. Obvious ways of connecting with the river are, to take your kayak out there or your fishing boat. But since we have a room full of probable scientists and people who really want to interact maybe in different ways with the river, the St. Louis River Alliance does have a lot of volunteer opportunities, especially in the summer. We do have, like I mentioned before, planting wild rice. We have some habitat projects that we do need volunteers on. We have a piping plover habitat on Wisconsin Point that's managed by the Wisconsin DNR. And we're the ones who are maintaining the habitat on that. So sometimes we might need some work to remove woody debris or to carefully remove some unwanted vegetation. And we're trying to do all of that work by hand because it is a sensitive habitat and there are tiger beetles out there that we need to make sure that we're not disturbing them and the population there, because it's the piping plover's favorite food. So, and then we have piping plover monitoring out on the beaches, either on Minnesota Point or out in that Wisconsin Point area. And then we have our annual events that we started doing again this last year. We missed 1 year of canoe trips, and I think that we've been doing them for over 30 years. And they've gone from being, maybe having 10 or 15 people to having about 80 people. And then this year we cut it off a little bit smaller because we just wanted to make sure everybody was safe. And we just had the best time. We went over at Woodstock Bay and we stayed in one of the fingers because where we were going to go, it just got too windy. And so that was one of those cases where we had to make some last minute decisions about keeping people safe. And we stayed in one of the fingers and we saw some otters, and we kind of just rafted up and talked and watched a couple of eagles back there. And it was a really great chance to reconnect. We have our annual river tour on the Vista Star, and we have a winter walk in the winter. And if the river's not frozen, we will walk alongside the river. But if it's frozen, we will oftentimes go out there and often have a bonfire and some warm drinks. And we also need administrative help sometimes too, especially in the winters. But there's plenty of other opportunities in the Twin Ports to connect with partners on their projects. And some of those are listed here: the Lake Superior Reserve or Friends of the NER, Minnesota and Wisconsin Sea Grant. Then there might be some invasive species programs through them. Also Duluth SISMA, they do invasive species control. Northland Patters Alliance likes to take people out. We will also be doing that once in a while too, but there's, the list is kind of endless here. These are just some of them, and maybe some people who are on the call today can maybe chime in about other volunteer opportunities. But what the Alliance is trying to do is continue to connect people to the river in a meaningful way. Now that it's cleaner, we're able to do so much more on it, and we have really appreciated all of the work that's been done. And we're just so excited to be able to kind of evolve with the cleaner river as an organization and network with, many partners on trying to now get people out on the river, because we know that when people connect with the river and they fall in love with the river, they become stewards and protectors of the river. So some of the future plans for the water trail are to continue implementing the master plan, and we facilitate an advisory council for that. And we do operate under some rules and regulations and bylaws that we've created. But the main goal is to keep moving and checking things off of that master plan. We're continually working with the cities and the agencies on signage and markers, and again, creating a map app. And also, we don't do the campsite work, but we work with the agencies who are working on that. And, if you look outside your door, you just don't have to go far to go wild. And that's what we're trying to tell people is to get out there and explore and really just enjoy this beautiful place that we have. And actually, after all the years of working on the cleanup, we finally get to celebrate and just get out there and connect with it. And so my thanks to all of you who have worked on this over so many years. So now it's your turn to get out and enjoy the cleaner river too. Ways you can support the National Water Trail by making a donation or becoming a member. We do, the Alliance does use our own money to support the water trail and manage it. So it's great to have a little help with that, especially right now. So if anybody's interested, you can go online. We have a great website that Alyssa has put together and maintains. And I think that's the end. And we do have a few events coming up here. Another way that you can connect or help the river is to drink beer, believe it or not, because in December, we're having our end of the year celebration, and we're going to be having it at Ursa Minor. So you can get on our website and look for some of our other events, and you can also sign up. Does anybody are there questions?
Thanks, Kris. That was excellent. And it's a nice reminder of the summer that we just had and seeing all those beautiful scenes on the river and all that fun wildlife and the hexagenia hatch, all the mayflies, the giant mayflies. So, of course, I love those. So that was awesome. All right, folks. So now is your chance to comment about the river trail or things happening in the estuary. Ask Kris and Alyssa more questions about things. You can raise your hand if you know how to do that, or unmute. I would be able to see you unmute. Or if you want to, you can just type your question in the chat and I can read it to Kris. So however you want to do it, but feel free to, now's your chance to ask Kris questions.
Yeah, and Alyssa too. And I want to introduce Alyssa Johnson. She is our development director and she's been with us over 3 years now. So she takes care of a lot of our business and all of the stuff that we do. So.
All right, thanks. So I have a question about the maps while everybody else is queuing up their questions. Do they say like this area is more appropriate for kayak, or this area might be unsafe for kayaks, or that kind of thing? Give the user some tips on what kind of watercraft are most appropriate for each one of the trails? I
don't think that it does actually. And I think that would be a great thing to maybe add a couple of sentences on there. We worked with a lot of people on these maps, but that was one thing that I don't think came up. So that is an excellent suggestion as we go into this next edition, because yeah, you want to be able to plan your trip according to, I mean, there are descriptions on there that would probably let you know what it might be appropriate to. And plus, the trails aren't like a road that you have to stay on. You can just go meander too, but it would be, I think, very helpful to put information like that on there. Thank you.
Well, especially if like there are people in town who are like going to try kayaking for the first time, and where's a beautiful but safe location,
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. There are
levels that they say, like intermediate or beginners or expert levels on there that would let people know that if they're a beginner, they probably shouldn't start out with that area. So there are a few things like that.
Yeah, great. Bob, you have your hand up.
My question was, what are they doing at Munger Landing that's going to tie it up for 2 years?
That is a remediation site, and maybe Barb Huberty could say a couple things about that.
Sure. I had my hand up as well. I just wanted to reiterate in case people miss seeing it in the chat. The Munger Landing is a Great Lakes Legacy Act contaminated sediment remediation site. And so that work that will be done at that site will be dredging to remove the contaminated sediments there. So that means the landing is going to need to close, and it will close after Memorial Day of next spring, 2022, and be closed for 2 years. So will be actively taking out the contaminated sediments in that area and disposing it in a lined landfill. And there was also a little bit of habitat restoration work that will have to happen after we complete our dredging project. And then I just wanted to share also, if I can share my screen here. Oh,
hang on, I'm gonna have to give you.
okay, sharing, yep.
1 second here.
We have produced a paddlers awareness handout so people can see how the national water trails intersect with our restoration and remediation sites. And SLRA has kindly posted that on their National Water Trail site. And we've got the link in the chat. So can you see that right now?
We get to the chat. You should be able to share your screen now, but you're not sharing yet.
Well, I tried to.
There we go.
There it is. All right. So you can see here's Grassy Point, which even though we just finished the substantial completion of the construction this year, there's going to be some additional vegetation work that's done. So you have to keep an eye out for that work. This is the St. Louis River Interlake Duluth tar site. That site's complete. Kingsbury Bay was just recently substantially completed as well, but DNR is going to do some follow-up vegetation there, and we're also doing some wild rice seeding there. And then this little part here is Munger Landing, and that's the one that will start the construction next spring. And below that is the Spirit Lake site, which is being led by the Environmental Protection Agency. That construction work is going on right now and will continue at least through next year and possibly into 2023. And then Mud Lake are these green polygons. That's a habitat restoration site. And right now that's being planned for 2022 to 2023, but I suspect that's going to get shifted out a year. And then Perch Lake, although it's not in the trail, it's close to the trail. And when they get the construction done, there will be a new box culvert there that you'll be able to sneak under the highway and go peek into Perch Lake. So that's being planned as a 22-23 construction project. And then all these other green polygons are wild rice seeding sites, which you'll be able to go through without worrying about any kind of construction equipment, but we hope that people are protective of the wild rice plantings that are there.
Thanks,
Great
Barb.
information. It's a fun map. Thank you.
And that will always be on our website, so that like if you have questions, you should be able to go right to our website and find the resources you need, like a link to the paddler, the paddle safe Twin Ports, and also this map too. Melissa, do you have something?
In addition, it's outside of our office. If you were to come pick up a map, there's printouts as well. So
that's right.
Those are right outside our office.
Great. Nate, you have a question.
Yeah, my question is maybe a little bit more on the scientific side today. So in one of your slides, Kris, you had that that monoman was considered like an apex species. And I'm familiar with that term from sort of like a, predator prey sort of top-down control relationship. I'm not actually familiar with it in sort of a plant community sense. So I don't know if you can talk about, I'm just curious what that means in sort of a plant sense, especially aquatic plants.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit about it. There might be somebody on here who can speak better about it, but the reason it's considered apex is because it creates environment around it for plants and fish to live and thrive, and it's a cascade effect. So the plant itself provides the food and shelter for many other species, and because it's a cascade effect, they call it an apex species.
Oh,
and it also protects the habitat as well to keep it from washing away too. So there's a whole bunch more attached to that, and there's other people who can probably speak a little bit more about that, but that's the reason.
Cool, thank you.
Other questions for Kris? Tom, you have your hand up?
Yeah. Hey, Kris, great talk.
Hi.
Thanks. First, I just want to say I really appreciate your website, and particularly the archives. I've spending some time recently looking through some of those old documents and learning about the historic reconstruction of land ownership in the estuary. some work done back in the 90s. But I'm also curious about your lobbying work and the work you do with our elected officials to gain support for the river. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about some of those efforts.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, and you know what I want to say too is why I'm so excited about being able to talk about this is because it's such a success story of partnerships. And every year when I go to the Area of Concern conference, I get to hear other people's stories about their areas, and it's very encouraging. But we really get to brag about our area of concern and the partnerships and the success that's come out of it. And back in 2016 and 2017, the Alliance took the lead on to work with the government consultant and get a bonding bill passed at the state of Minnesota, because there was federal funds available that needed a state match. And so many of you were a part of that actually. And so the Alliance started sort of a campaign of, to raise money because we had to pay the government consultant. But what we found out was that the community was super engaged and really interested in doing this. And so we ended up having to do it for 2 years because the bonding bill did not pass the first year. But the bonding bill was for $25.4 million. And what that did was it released or triggered $47.2 million to do the remediation work on the contaminated sediments in the estuary. So really what it showed was this great partnership between the general public, even in Wisconsin too, and all over the state to help get this work done. So it was a lot of heavy lifting done by a lot of different groups. And we're really proud of that work. And also it's very satisfying to look out in the estuary and see that work that's getting done, a lot of that was funded because of the work that the community did on that.
That's pretty amazing how many millions are being poured into our estuary to clean it up. It's like I never would have thought that we could get that much funding and this much help.
Yeah, and that's why it was so important the timing was so important on that, because the money gets more and more competitive as we're seeing now with the GLRI funds. And so we're had everything ready to go for all of that stuff. So we really needed to grab the federal dollars for that by the match that we got. And $73 million is a lot to put into local businesses. Much of the work that's being done out there is local. And so it also helps stimulate the economy too. But for me, what I saw was, wow, how much people really, really care about participating in the work of the estuary cleanup. So that credit goes to the community. It's really amazing to see how much can really get done in a short period of time, because there was 10 sites that were listed as needing to be remediated. So most of those are either finished or underway.
And those are just the Minnesota ones.
Yeah, those are the Minnesota ones. We got the bonding work, or the bonding bill for Minnesota just went to the Minnesota state projects. Thanks for asking, Tom.
Yeah, well, I think it really says a lot about the importance of an organization like yours and how much happens quietly in the background with these really big impacts. Thank you, I appreciate it.
That's true. Thanks, Tom.
Any last questions for Kris? All right, well, I know that after seeing this, everybody's going to be tempted to go out and hop on the water, but remember, it's getting cold. So safety first, life jackets, warm clothes, and watch out for thin ice if you go out in the wintertime. Remember that, river channels don't freeze the same way ponds do. So
let's be careful out there. And also, I just wanted to say too, the last couple of years, most of us, our lives have really changed a lot, and we have come to realize the things that are truly important in our lives. And I know for me, and many people I know, the river became, a really safe place and a sacred place to be, that helped kind of keep us grounded and restored our broken spirits, so I just so appreciate how much cleaner it is, so that we can actually go out and see the wildlife and enjoy I just love going out and watching the otters
Otters are
with
awesome.
a safe distance.
Otters are a lot of fun. So unless anybody has any final things, I'm gonna say goodbye to everyone, but I'm gonna stay on for just a minute because there's a ton of information in the chat. So if you haven't been watching the chat, I'm gonna stay on and keep this open for a couple minutes so you can scroll through the chat and maybe copy out any of the things you're interested in, because it will disappear for you as soon as I close the meeting. So,
And
but
Val, note that Alyssa is going to then post this recording on the Alliance's website, I guess, right? Thanks for that.
And thanks so much for having me. And I appreciate all of you who are interested in this. And again, our website's a great resource and the maps are right outside our office. So.
All right, well, thanks. And everybody get out and enjoy the river that we have all helped to clean up. We'll see y'all next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.